Surrendered Russian soldiers. Ukrainian war helicopters hitting Russian trenches. Russian military convoy attacked by drones. A relentless fight against drones. Destroyed vehicles, rocket systems, and trench attacks. Stay tuned for more. June 8, 2025. 2 Russian armored vehicles were spotted south of the village of Novoandriivka, Donetsk region. A Russian tank is in the lead, and a Russian armored infantry carrier is right behind it. Ukrainian forces immediately launched an attack with FPV drones. First, the infantry carrier vehicle behind the convoy was hit. After the first hit, Russian soldiers began to leave the vehicle. The Russian tank was targeted after the BMP-3 in the rear was disabled by the Ukrainians. The FPV drone first hits the tank's tracks. However, the Russian tank survives the first attack, but the attacks do not end there. Ukrainian FPV drones that take off one after another continue to hit the tank. The tank's engine compartment is targeted in the successive drone attacks. Although the tank is equipped with separate armor against drone attacks, it cannot withstand so many drone attacks. Later, kamikaze drones stopped the tank right next to a pile of scrap metal where 3 previously destroyed Russian BMP-2s were located. The TU's tank began to burn. You can support us by liking and commenting on the video. June 8, 2025. Northwest of the village of Orlinska in the Donetsk region. A Russian BM-21 Grad multiple launch rocket system with a full rocket load was heading towards a Ukrainian defensive position, but was spotted by Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance. Ukrainian forces immediately launched an FPV drone. The FPV drone managed to hit the Russian rocket system. You can support us by liking and commenting on the video. It hit the ammunition load directly, causing a massive explosion. June 9, 2025. FPV kamikaze drone attacks were carried out on Russian infantry detected in the operation launched by the Ukrainian 63rd Mechanized Brigade. Russian soldier caught in Ukrainian FPV drone makes terrible mistake. He reflexively grabs the drone with his hand. Russian soldier fails to survive FPV drone attack. June 9, 2025. 2 Russian soldiers were spotted east of the village of Torsky in the Donetsk region. The Russian soldiers reached Ukrainian positions and hid in a bunker. A pair of Ukrainian infantrymen immediately launched an offensive operation. They began throwing grenades at the bunker and firing at it. 1 Russian soldier was killed, the other was taken prisoner. However, the prisoner had to be escorted from the front to the rear. In order not to risk the lives of the Ukrainian soldiers, his hands were tied and he was sent to walk alone under the close surveillance of a UAV operator, guided by a drone equipped with a loudspeaker. The Russians realized that their soldier had surrendered and opened artillery fire on him. The prisoner was injured but managed to continue. He traveled more than 2 kilometers in a total of about 3 hours before being picked up by another Ukrainian soldier. The Russian soldier followed the drone in the air with his hands tied. After a long journey, the Russian soldier managed to reach the Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian soldiers welcomed the Russian soldier and took him in without harming him. A Russian soldier trying to hide from drones in the forest, experienced FPV drone detects Russian soldier through the trees. Russian soldier managed to survive 2 drone attacks. Russian soldier who successfully evaded the constant attacks in a panic escaped the 3rd attack. Many Russian soldiers in the region shared the same fate. Unable to develop an alternative defense against drones, Russian soldiers have no choice but to flee or shoot down the drone, albeit with difficulty. One of the striking details is that the Russian infantry was alone in the deserted open lands of Ukraine. There is not much information about why the Russian soldiers followed such a fighting method throughout the war. June 8, 2025. The Ukrainian Air Force launched a simultaneous attack on Russian positions. 2 Ukrainian Mi-24P helicopters participated in the operation. While performing a Cabra maneuver, the Mi-24 helicopters take turns to fire 122mm S-13 rockets at Russian positions. More than 10 Russian soldiers lost their lives, and 7 Russian trenches were hit in the Ukrainian airstrike that lasted about 3 hours. June 9th, 2025, Murom Village, Belgorod region. An ARV armored recovery vehicle was pulling a damaged Russian T-62 tank from the battlefield, but was shot down by a Ukrainian FPV drone. After the armored carrier was hit, the Russian tank T-62 became a completely open target for the FPV drone. With just one drone explosion, the tank is completely destroyed. Another Russian armored vehicle is spotted in the same area. Ukraine takes action for a kamikaze attack. A Russian soldier jumps out of the vehicle that notices the drone. The second drone attack is coming, which will deal the final blow to the armored vehicle that lost its mobility with the first attack. In these attacks, carried out by the Ukrainian 42nd Mechanized Brigade, Russian military vehicles are being hit on logistics routes in the region. It is seen that Russian soldiers are using abandoned civilian vehicles for military purposes. Although it is thought that they are doing this to camouflage themselves, it is a simple strategy that is noticed by Ukrainian forces. June 4th, 2025, a communications tower belonging to Russian forces in the city of Bakhmut, Donetsk region, was hit by a Ukrainian airstrike. After the communications tower is hit, it collapses to the ground and becomes completely unusable. The Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade discovered a trench belonging to Russian soldiers. Mortar and howitzer attacks began on the Russian trench among the trees. Successive artillery attacks destroyed the Russian position. Ukrainian artillery attacks with critical shots continued for about half an hour. Finally, Russian soldiers were forced to leave the shelter. Russian soldiers began to leave the shelter and leave the area. However, it is very difficult to say that Russian soldiers who were being monitored by drones were able to survive. June 7th, 2025. Russian soldiers who had just arrived in the Russian trenches were detected by reconnaissance planes of the Ukrainian 154th Mechanized Artillery Company. Artillery attacks on the Russian soldiers, whose exact coordinates were received, began. The Russian military group of about 10 soldiers began to disperse with the artillery fire. All this was done by the Ukrainian mortars, which were only a few hundred meters away. The Ukrainian mortars, which were well positioned, continued to hit the trenches continuously. After hours of attack, Russian soldiers are seen carrying their wounded and being pushed out of the area. A shocked Russian soldier wanders around, not knowing what to do. Russian armored vehicle carrying Russian soldiers is captured by Ukrainian FPV kamikaze drone. 3 Russian soldiers are seen on top of the vehicle. A few kilometers from the city of Sumy, a Boomerang personnel carrier and infantry fighting vehicle carrying Russian infantry to the area to reinforce it became an easy target for Ukrainian forces. The drone carrying explosives is speeding towards the direction the Russian vehicle is coming from. The Russian vehicle, unaware of the encounter, is also moving very quickly. Shortly after, the FPV kamikaze drone reaches its target. A large number of Russian soldiers are seen on the FPV drone's camera on the armored vehicle. The Ukrainian drone that hit the armored vehicle completely destroys the vehicle with just one hit. All of the Russian soldiers lose their lives in the drone attack. This footage, captured by a Russian soldier's helmet camera, shows a vehicle being hit by Ukrainian forces. The fact that the city is abandoned and the destruction is clearly visible shows the level of violence of the war. Ukrainian aviation bombed the location of the detachment of the 60th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Armed Forces. 20 Russian soldiers lost their lives in the airstrike. Ukrainian artillery units continue to play a critical role in disrupting Russian operations along the front line. In recent strikes, Ukrainian forces targeted key Russian positions and ammunition depots with high-precision fire. Using advanced surveillance drones and real-time intelligence, artillery crews were able to pinpoint and destroy multiple enemy strongholds, supply hubs, and fortified trenches. The explosions triggered secondary blasts, confirming direct hits on ammo stockpiles. These operations not only weaken Russia's ability to sustain offensive pressure, but also slow down their logistical chains and coordination efforts. Striking ammunition depots is especially crucial, as it limits the enemy's firepower and reduces the intensity of their future attacks. Each successful hit shifts the momentum on the battlefield in Ukraine's favor.